All right, folks, he's back. Gorgeous George and Goes reporting for duty here. We got Michael Venom Page as our guest. He fights Goiti Yamauchi, and it's coming up here at Bellator 292 on Friday, March 10th. They're in San Jose, California. Welcome back, MVP. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling good, excited to be back, and just kind of ready and pumped for next week.
Yeah. Let's peel back the curtain a little bit to the listeners. We were just chatting about Manchester United and how they're on a roll. Um, are I wanted to ask you, like, do you feel like that's, I guess, contagious in MMA? Is it hard to, like, I'm going to use your gym, for example, your teammates, when they get on a roll, can you get on a roll? Is it infectious like that? Or is it, like they say, an individual sport? You're all on your own.
Nah, you know what? I've never classed what we do as an individual sport because I genuinely couldn't do it without my teammates. It wouldn't exist. They pushed me, they better me, and then 100% seeing them win, the energy they have when people are winning in the gym, and even down to like competition. All the fighters and the team are in like a WhatsApp group, and every time people win, you just see that everyone's excited, pumped. You see them in the gym, you're applauding them, and that energy is 100% infectious.
Yeah, I mean, the UK really as a whole has just produced some tremendous combat sports athletes, and now more specific MMA athletes. It's incredible. Like every weekend, there really is somebody from the UK on one of the top promotions banging, and it's usually one of the they're usually one of the better fighters on the card.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been a long time because I remember actually even just before I kind of came into the sport, my idea of success was I had to get over to America, and that was exactly what I was planning on doing. I was going to leave the UK, go to America, find a gym out there. Actually, my first gym that I went to that I was going to go to was my sister and my siblings live in Florida. So I was actually going to go over to American Top Team, went into their gym, met a couple of the people there, loved it over there. Obviously, I was going to be close to family still. I was going to be in the sun. So I thought, let me make that move and kind of change it, pick up my life and move it down. Then just before I kind of decided to do that, I had a bit more of a check around the UK just in case. Found London Shoot Fighters. Not through any real research. I was literally just looking at the gyms local. Found them, and they're the first MMA gym in the UK, and there's a lot of history there as well. And just fell in love with the gym, the team, people there, and more importantly, the coaches. They really understand me, where I come from, and try to just hone that skill, which is what they did.
Mm-hmm. And so now you got your fight coming up here against Goiti Yamauchi in a few weeks, or really, I guess, in a week from now. What does this W, if you were to beat him, which I'm sure you're fully confident that's what's going to happen, you're going to have your hand raised, where does it put you in terms of the title picture? Because you've beaten great fighters, you've got an amazing record, you got amazing highlights out there, you've put in the time. Is it just time for title talk only after this win, or do you even not think about that? Where do you sit with that?
Yeah, no, 100%. For me, it's just it's a case of title fight. Like I was just saying, the next in line, and I kind of know that is Jason Jackson, simply because there was talks of me and him fighting, and the reason why I didn't land is because he genuinely believes that he's next in line. So there obviously was a conversation that has happened that made him feel that. And he's like, if I'm next in line, I'd prefer to wait instead of kind of risk having a fight and potentially succeeding in that fight and getting pushed kind of further back away from the title fight, which is why this kind of fight ended up landing. So yeah, no, I think he's next, and I'm definitely the one after. So that's 100% what he does.
Will you just wait for the winner then of Jackson and the champ Amasov now that the title unification bout is over?
Yeah, obviously potentially could be a long time. So it just depends on when things are going to happen. Obviously, you got to kind of put in a certain amount of time for after their fight as well, especially if it's a long fight. So potentially I'll just do another one. I don't care that much. I'll just do another one just to kind of stay active, stay fresh, and then but I still just want to be ready to jump in and go.
Could another one also be BKFC? You seem to have had a good time over there. I mean, you really, really took to it. And I wasn't sure that in your debut you would be as comfortable as you were, but man, you were cracking.
To be fair, I did enjoy it. My family, my friends all hated it. They didn't like it at all. And everyone's telling me that they don't want to see me in that again. But I'd like to finish on a high and on a W. So potentially, fall back into that again. But yeah, as long as I'm active, there was even talks of me doing some boxing as well. It's all dependent on, if Bellator would allow me again, which go for. Having that kind of fight in between, happy to do as well.
Michael, so we talked a little bit about Manchester United, and I want to bring them up again because they have a new coach, Eric Ten Hag. And yes, they have some new players, but they also have a lot of players that have been there for a while where he's been able to elevate their game. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a coach or a teammate come in and maybe shake things up in your life and changed you around?
Yeah, honestly, like I said, it's obviously biasly speaking, but I think my coaches are just geniuses. They improve the sport. They have their whole life. They've dedicated martial arts to near enough everything they've done since they were in their teens, and traveled the world to do so, and brought all of that knowledge that they've taken just from traveling back to the UK, set up their own gym. And even down to, there's a lot of, I've been to places before, a lot of people, they don't get my style because, it wasn't a very popular style. It's not something that you can understand. So a lot of coaches normally be almost scared of that because they don't know how to coach it. And, the first thing that I noticed is one of my coaches, I remember coming into the gym after he's kind of learned about who I am. So I was there for about 3 or 4 months already. And he was practicing moves, and then he saw me. He's like asking me, like, "Oh, can you show me how to do that move?" He's like, "I've been watching this guy," and he was naming all these different guys in my sport, which shows he's taken a massive interest in it, and believes there's something there. Because again, it's not something that he would have seen at the time. But what I love about that is he's constantly a student. He's constantly learning himself, and then trying to figure it out, and then even happy to take from new people that's come in. There's no ego there. But then also, I remember him asking me to show different people in the gym how to do certain moves that he thinks work. And what he would do is be like, that's amazing, but you might not need to. You can't do it that way because in this sport this could happen, and in that sport, where you could get away with it in your sport, you can't get away with it here. So he just adjusted and tweaked a couple of things. And yeah, it just leveled me up, and even down to my understanding of what I was doing. So I think in the kickboxing, not everything, but a lot of what I was doing became a bit more freestyle. And I was literally just expressing myself. And he came in and almost mapped it out. He's like, because he'll ask me a question like, "Oh yeah, so when you put your foot here and did that, did you mean to do this?" And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, "Yeah, because if you actually do that intentionally, your opponent's going to go this way. That means you can land this kick and that punch and blah, blah, blah." And it helped me really break down what I was doing and made everything a bit more intentional. So, it was. I have to just be biased and say my coach has just been they're that scientists to me. They're amazing.
One of the fun things that you bring to the table when it's fight week is your intensity. And it's even more fun when somebody plays along against it, right? Sometimes you could see MVPs in his head. This guy's a little bit more chill, a little less of that. How do you like those type of fights where the guy just comes in calm? I mean, is it fun to have that extra level of intensity when your opponent kind of matches it?
Yeah, I guess. I think it's more so important. Not important. I think it's more so interesting for the people watching. I like a challenge regardless. So if I'm finding that he's not biting on a lot of stuff, I need to figure out. How what does kind of make him tick. And I like that chess side of the martial arts. I like figuring things out. I like figuring people out, finding their weaknesses. So I'm still enjoying it regardless of whatever type of opponent's in front of me. But I think visually for the crowd and everybody tuning in to watch, having somebody that kind of tries to match that energy makes for a lot more of an exciting fight.
Oh, George, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry, I muted it because my Jack Russell Terrier went off a few minutes ago. I'm sure you heard it. But okay, in 2019, you fought 5 times, and then things slowed down the following years. We're now early in 2023, where you can maybe map out the type of year that you would like. What type of year would you like? Do you like, was that just an anomaly type of a year, or is that what you like? Multiple fights like that in one year. What would you like for 2023?
Yeah, I'm personally, I come from a competition circuit. I used to fight every weekend, all bloody day. So it's like I can have up to 10, 11 fights over the weekend. So I'm a lot more used to being active. But I think I get the industry. I get the sport. When you are worth money to people and they need to kind of spend a bit more time to promote and doing all this, there's a lot more things in the background that need to happen. Things can take longer. But that year in 2019, I think because I was, I lost that fight with Lima, I was so like, I don't think, I think I was bugging everybody, Mike Cogan, Scott Coker, I was on the phone to them all the time. So every time I finished the fight, I was like, when can I fight again? When can I fight again? They're like, oh, there's nothing in place. So, well, can we have something? I was really, let's just active, really like pushing. But I think that was just a weird year, I guess. I think a normal year, unfortunately, for a lot of these kind of big fights is 2-3 times a year, unless you become that type of fighter that I say, you don't care as much about your career or anything. You become a fighter for the crowd and for the promoter, and you just people know that when you're in the cage, you're gonna do something. You get guys that just jump in there. I think like Cowboy towards the end of his career started to become that. He just jumped in with anybody and kind of didn't care. And I think when you become known for that, it's okay, because regardless of your win or your loss, nobody cares as much. But when you're kind of building yourself up, it means more to a lot of people. So it makes it different. But I would love to have another active year. If I can fight 5 times, 6 times, I'll do it.
How would MVP of 2023 do against MVP of 2019?
He'd have I think he'd have a better time because that 2019 MVP still so much to learn, and between 2019 and 2023, the amount I've had to learn and how I've bettered myself. I'd probably like 2019's youth, but but outside of that, yeah, 2019 would probably lose that fight.
Is it harder to get up for these workouts and get through these workouts, just in 4 years of maturity?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's I think like with everything, is that the older you get, I think you can be a little bit more in your head about things. Yeah, it's definitely a bit more difficult, but the same result happens. You end up getting up anyway. It's not it doesn't shake the end result. But I think I'll probably spend a bit more time like, I can't be asked to move. I'm stiff from yesterday's training session. I'm tired and Probably spend a bit more time complaining, should I say? But like I said, you end up getting up anyway.
Are you the type of fighter that wants to run it back? Here's what I mean by that. I don't think you want to fight Storley again, because he's kind of out of the picture. No disrespect to the former interim champ. He just lost to Amasov. But what about Lima, who gave you your first loss, and Perry, who we talked about earlier? We talked about BKFC. Are you the type of fighter that at some point they're on your radar? You like to get those guys back?
Yeah, no, 100%. I've always been like that. And like I said, because I've come from a competition circuit, we hold, like, I think from a young age, I've always been like this. I hold almost, we call it grudges, but it's like friendly, competitive grudges. Down to, if you hit me with a technique that was good, I'm going to get you back. I think the longest grudge in the kickboxing was probably about 7 years, probably maybe a bit longer. And this guy, weird enough, I actually beat him the first time, and but he was a bit rude to me afterwards about the fight, and I just held that close to my heart, and I was like, yeah, when I get you back. And it took a few years. But I'm always like that, like I said, the BKFC, I didn't get the win, so I wanted to get that back. The same with Lima. I lost that fight, and I was even more furious because it felt like something stupid that I did versus actually just being outskilled on that night. But not taking away anything from him because he's an amazing athlete. It's just more how I saw it. And obviously, like I said, I worked hard, I busted my ass just to get back in the cage. I think that was probably the extra motivation that year to keep fighting, to fight so many times. I definitely like to run these things back.
And I guess to be fair, you already expressed interest, but would Coker let you do BKFC again? Has that even been talked about?
No, to be fair, I haven't. That's not really a conversation I had because it genuinely was an opportunistic move to fill the time, because as soon as I lost to Strawley, I was like, cool, when am I back in? Same attitude that I had with Lima. And they were at the time, they didn't when they said everything left on this year, it's full, it's already booked up, so we can't put you in there. I was like, bro, I cannot wait to that long to be and be inactive while I've got all this energy still stuck in me, and I'm furious about it. I've just lost this fight. And at that time I was already going to go and look to do some boxing because I've still got some connections to the boxing world. I was speaking to a couple of people. Then David Hayes spoke to my coach about the BKFC. Timing wise, it just landed because if they offered me a fight, if that happened, I wouldn't be able to do it. But they already said to me there's not going to be I think it's probably like 5 or 6 months before I'd be able to do anything again. And then so I presented this to Bellator. They were like, you know what, go ahead, do it. Obviously, while you're not really doing anything for us at the moment, it'd be good for you to kind of stay active. And yeah, I just was able to do it.
Does that bother you, by the way, that in May of 2021, I believe, you call them up and say, hey, what's next? You took the loss to Strawley, so you say, what's next? And they go, our year is full. Because me, as a fan and as a media member, that bothers me. I mean, you're as exciting as it gets. If I'm Coker, I'm thinking, bro, really? You want to run? Let's get you in September and then fly you to Hawaii in December. Like, I would think that they would want more MVP. What that doesn't compute.
No, 100%. But again, I've always had this mind. I always like to look at it from both perspectives. He's not just catering for MVP; he's catering for a roster of fighters, and he has to make sure that everybody's getting, the right amount of time. Or and don't get me wrong, I understand my exciting appeal and having that, but there's a lot going on. Also, on top of that, at the time, a lot of fights had already been matched up in the welterweight division. So then it's like, do I fight somebody that is not even ranked just for the sake of the fight, where it doesn't really do you know what I mean? I think for them, they have to think about there's a lot more things they have to kind of take into consideration. For me, I'm just sitting there wanting to fight because that's what I feel like I'm bred for. So I get it from both perspectives. This is why I'm happy that they allow me to be able to keep myself myself active in other ways. They've allowed me to box in the past, and obviously allowed me to do the BKFC of recent. So the fact that they even do that is great. It still gives me opportunities to kind of scratch that itch that's there at the time.
Well, you kept it classy with your response. I can respect that, but I don't know. I respectfully disagree. I think they could find more room for the fighters that bring ratings and people talk about, you know what I mean? So when you send that text, send them a little like 30-second highlight and make the thumbnail Cyborg's forehead. That should get the conversation going again, because I mean, okay, we homer for you. You're a Man U guy. We've covered you for many years, but still, come on, exciting fighters should just be fighting more often, especially if someone like yourself is requesting to fight more often. That's all I'm saying. And I would say it to Big Daddy Cokes as well if he was right here. So it's not like I'm shying away from it.
No, like I said, I understand. And from me, I agree with yourself but that's me selfishly speaking. I'm not thinking about anybody else. I just want to fight. And if I could fight on every show, because especially with my style, I don't take too much damage for a lot of the times when I'm fighting. So, I've trained and busted my ass for however long. Get into a fight, it's a quick fight. or I don't feel like anything, I still feel fresh, ready to go, I'm happy to jump on the following show. But again, there's a lot more to that to it than just being like, okay, yeah, I'm surprised MVP's here again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to be as active as possible.
Yeah. Well, the dunk contest is more fun than the 3-point contest, is all I'm saying. But all right. So you got a couple minutes here. We're kind of a little bit of overtime, but I'm having fun chatting with you. You have a couple more minutes, or? Okay. There's going to be a lot of people that say Yaroslav Amosov his striking looked pretty good to complement his wrestling game. How would you answer those that say, well, obviously, if you stay standing, you have an advantage, but if the fight were to hit the ground, Amosov would have an advantage? What would you tell people as far as your improvements in wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, all that?
Yeah, it's a game that you're forced to put time into a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different arts. And it's weird how much a shift of opponent highlights new pockets of weaknesses in your game, because, going from one opponent, maybe a striker, to a wrestler, I'm like, we're bringing in hella wrestlers now, and we're doing wrestling work, and I'm getting taken down on silly things. And it's like, oh man, like, you're still doing your wrestling work, but it's different to when you're. So you start building up all those kind of areas. Either way, I was never going to out wrestle a wrestler, but I obviously try to make it a little bit more even. I think I made it very difficult for him to even keep me down on the floor. And same again with Yamaguchi. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. Again, I'm non-stop doing jiu-jitsu, but when you're focusing on jiu-jitsu, you find a lot more pockets or weaknesses that you're like, oh man, I didn't even notice that I was having issues. And then it develops you again. So you're constantly having to improve all the time, and change of opponents and change of like different nature opponents definitely helps just improve me. With regards to your question, yeah, his striking was unbelievable. I genuinely, I was saying to the guys on the day, that was a masterclass. I enjoyed every second of that fight in Dublin. It was beautiful, and it made me eager to want to fight him. Yes, he's going to have an advantage in the wrestling department, but when it comes time to some of those holes, it's still going to be a lot more difficult. That's not going to be as straightforward as that, is what I'm saying. But I'm looking forward to that kind of fight.
I can't wait for it as well. Hopefully it does go down in 2023. There's a claim he's making it, but a lot of people are supporting it, that he may be the best welterweight in the world. Your fellow Bellator brother there. And I wanted to ask you, you obviously think that when you meet up, I'm sure you can beat Amosov. So would that A, make you the best welterweight in the world? And B, are you right now maybe the best UK welterweight in the world?
Yeah, it's weird. Like I've never seen it as, if one beats two and two beats three and three beats one, that means the last person is the best person. Considering what he's done, how he's done it, how well-rounded he is as an athlete, his argument is very. Yes, I still believe when I go in there, I'm going to do my thing. But do I believe that me beating him makes me the best? No, I still have so much to learn. I'm the best in terms of I'm now holding the belt, so I'm classed as the best. But that's not going to be the end of it. I'm going to have to work on so many weeks. I need to work on it to the point where I do come up against the likes of Storley again, let's say. And I can cancel everything out, similar to what he did in that last fight. You cancel everything out and show that you're completely dominant as a mixed martial artist. So I think he's got a very valid argument, and his record speaks for itself.
Hey, MVP, I got to be honest with you, man. I'm going to give a yellow card to myself, because I guess in a roundabout way, I wanted to really ask you who would win between you and Edwards. That's what I really wanted to ask. And I was going to get to it, but I thought I'd build to it, rather than just say, oh, this guy's just clicking and clickbaiting and all that. So I'll give myself the yellow card and just pose that question. Who would win between you and Leon Edwards, man? I would love to see that fight.
Yeah, no, he's a great athlete. Obviously, I feel like he's been underestimated for a long time. I'm glad got that shot finally, because it was well deserved way earlier, and then he actually capitalized on that opportunity. We've actually done some work before. in the past, some sparring stuff, and yeah, he's a tough opponent. It is a very even fight. I'm going to be a bit more political about it, but obviously, I never put myself second going into a fight. So if I'm asking me the question, 100%, I see myself winning that fight.
Can you imagine that, man, at Wembley? That'd be awesome. That's my dream, is to have just like what Fury and Klitschko did a few years ago, 90,000 at Wembley, and to have that for MMA and just get the top athletes there. Obviously, the British athletes, but some American athletes, some talent, and whatever, worldwide, and just have a proper card. You know, sometimes Bellator beats the UFC to these types of locations, like Hawaii, for example. Bellator has definitely planted their flag there, but you never know. Scott Coker's even entertained fights at the Roman Coliseum. He's actually told us that before. I guess it's a little tougher to do than just saying it, but they got to France, and stuff like that. So Wembley, man, wouldn't that be like the epitome or the top thing that you could probably do in your combat sports career?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, I fought at Wembley quite a few times now, and
Stadium?
Oh, no, sorry, not stadium. Sorry. I just the SC Arena, but just the it's brought there just in the smaller arena. So I know for a fact in the stadium,
Yes,
unbelievable.
the stadium, man. All right, we'll finish up with this. We got FA Cup, we got the league. We're down 11 with a game in hand. We got the FA Cup, and we got Europa. Do we go 3 for 3, thereby completing the quadruple? And keep it real, keep it 100. Do we go 2 for 3, thereby going 3 trophies, which is still a great season? Or do you think, we're just maybe going to nick one of these? What do you think?
I think we're more likely to get the FA Cup, out of the others. Man City obviously are still in the FA Cup. I think that's the hardest team. But if they make a mistake in any way, shape, or form, and slip up by one of these smaller teams, I think we go right the way to the FA Cup as well, which is amazing. Everything else, obviously, we just need top 4. Europa, we have a decent chance, but it just depends on tired legs. Like even Fernandez, for me, in the last game, as much as we won it, in the second half, he was on tired legs. A lot of the corners that he was taking was shocking. I think we need replacements to be able to actually have other people that can kind of come in his place, or people should identify that he's not playing at his best right now. There's a lot of wayward passes and stuff that mistakes he's making more in the second half. And I think obviously against Barcelona, and then obviously the Carabao Cup, he just got a bit tired. But yeah, I think FA Cup is our main chance that we can get a trophy. Everything else, if we get, is unbelievable, but I'm not sure.
MVP, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. We can talk about so many different topics. You always keep it real. Right now, the focus is Bellator 292 this next Friday. Folks, you can watch the fights, as always, on Showtime. Goiti Yamaguchi's his opponent. And hopefully we can do this again soon. And hopefully we can talk in the summer and talk about how our common mutual interest, the Manchester United Red Devils, did as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me.